Hey lovelies, it's your girl here, Joanne. Welcome back to my channel. If you're an old subscriber, thank you for sticking around. And if you're a new subscriber, you're very welcome to the family. Please subscribe to this channel and turn on your post notification bell for more videos. So today I'll be showing you the perfect method to cut your bustier. And you can actually wear this without a bra. Yes, you heard me right. So this is the trick a lot of people do not know, and I'm here to reveal the secret to you. So if you're interested in something like this, watch this video to the end. Don't forget to like and share this video so that other people can get to see this video as well. So without wasting much of your time, let's get into the tutorial. So I'm going to begin with my basic body measurement. You should be familiar with this. So I'm starting with the bust point line, which is 10 inches. The under bust is 14 inches, and the half cut is 20 inches, because I want this to be a low waist, actually kind of a low waist. So that is why I took the length of the upper bodies 20. So if yours is 16 or 17, go ahead and take the right measurement for it. I hope you understand. So I'm rolling this line across and going to the top of the shoulder. I'm going to make that line visible since I drew it with a pencil initially. So next thing I'll be doing now is to mark the chest line. So from the bust line, I came up by 2 inches, and I'm going to mark that line across. This will serve as my chest line. Okay, so I'm now going to label each of the lines. This is the chest line. The next one will be the bust line, then the under bust line, and of course the top length, okay, which is the waist length. So going to the shoulder measurement, I'm going to be dividing my shoulder into two, right? And whatever I have, I'll use one part of the measurement to determine my shoulder measurement. No, this is on fold, okay? And I'm rolling that line across. Next thing, I'll come down by 1 inch for my shoulder slope, and on the neckline I'll be going in by 3 inches. So I'm going to connect from the shoulder slope to the neckline. This is very important because our shoulder is not straight, okay? So next thing is to get my armhole, midpoint of my armhole, and whatever I have on that measurement, as you can see me do, I'm dividing it by 2 to get the midpoint, and I'm going in by 0.75. You can also go in by 0.5 inch, okay? So I extended the line on my chest line because I'm going to be taking my bust measurement now. So on the bust measurement, I took my bust divided by 4, and I'll be connecting each of the points from the bust point to the midpoint of my armhole using a cuff rule. And I'm now going to use a straight rule to connect from the midpoint to the tip of my shoulder. This will now serve as my armhole. Next thing I'll be doing is to take my dart intake. Your dart intake, that is your bust pan, divide by 2, okay? Whatever you have, you impute that. So I'm imputing on from the waistline to my nipple points line, okay, or bust line. All right, so next thing is to divide my shoulder into 2. Whatever you have on the shoulder from the neck, okay, from where the shoulder slope is to the neck, you divide that into 2, and you whatever you have, you connect it to meet to the bust point line. I'm now going to take in the darts on the under bust line, okay? I'm going to, on the side, I'm going to take 2 inches, go out by 2 inches for the darts. This is a bust of 39 inches. You can also do this for a bust of 40 inches, all right? So, and also a bust of 38 inches. So on the center part, I'm going to be coming in by 1 inch, okay? I'm now going to use my cuff rule to connect to meet to my bust point line. I'm going to use a pencil in case I need to erase anything. It will be a lot easier for me to erase since I don't want to be having plenty marks, so not to confuse you guys. So on the center bust here, I'm going to connect also to meet to the bust point line. Note that you don't need to connect it to meet to exactly on the bust point line, okay? So you eliminate that pointiness around the bust point line, all right? So here now on the waistline, I'm taking the darts like I did for the under bust, okay, and I'm going to be connecting these to meet to the under bust. And on the center, I'm also going to repeat the same thing. As you can see, the bustier is taking shape already. All right, so I'm now going to use my marker to make the lines visible for you guys to see very well. All right, I hope you understand what I'm trying to do here. So I'm going to be taking my neck measurement now, and I'm coming down by 3 inches. I'm going to connect it now to the shoulder. All right,
Our hearts beat to the city streets. We began.
I'm now going to take my yoke measurement. So from the top of from the line on the top here, I'm going to come in by 7 inches. Okay, initially I took 6.5 inches, but I realized it will not be what I really want, so I came down by 7 inches. I ended up using 7 inches. All right, so, and I'm now going to connect it from the 7 inches with, make it slightly curvy to meet to my armhole. So I'm trying to make this line curvy as possible, because I'm not actually using a curve rule for this. I'm using a freehand, so it was a bit, it wasn't really easy for me to get this line perfectly well. So, but although I tried to curve it. So feel free to erase yours and to make sure you draw it perfectly well, or unless you're using a curve rule to determine this line. So where we have the upper part of the bust where the curve is, we are going to now come in by 1 inch over that intake on the side and 1 inch on the center part, and connect to meet to the bust point line, like so. So as you can see, I've already gotten the dart leg, okay, and I'm now going to, if you notice, one part of the dart is slightly longer than the other dart leg, okay. The one on the side is slightly longer, so I'm going to measure that to confirm, and this is 4.025. okay, so I'm going to measure on the center too, and this is 4 inches. Now we are going to be increasing that of the center by 0.25, okay, and I'm going to connect it back to the neckline. So where this dart is, we are going to be connecting the line also. All right, so I'm trying to make sure the line is curvy as I want. All right, as you can see, I'm using a free hand, so I was erasing and retracing back to make sure the line is curvy as possible. After I was done with that, as you can see, our bust has already taken shape. All right, so on the bust point line, I'm going to be blending that using my curve rule. All right, I'm going to be blending the center and also the sides. This is to eliminate any form of pointiness around the bust area, around the nipple point, okay. So I'm going to be tracing out with a marker any lines I initially drew with a pencil, like so. So the next thing I'll be doing now is to take all the body measurements from the chest line. I had already taken that measurement. I'm going to be taking in my bust line, divide by 4, and mark the dart intake, which is 1 inch, and mark extra 2 inches seam allowance for sewing. All right, and on the bust line I'm going to be repeating the same thing. Then I'll mark my bust measurement, divide by 4, and take in my dart, which is 1 inch, and my sewing allowance, which is 2 inches. Then on the under bust, I'm going to be taking my under bust measurements, divide by 4, and replace the dart I took in. All right, I'm going to be replacing that dart, which is 3 inches. After I measured it was 3 inches, I'm going to be replacing that and add extra 2 inches seam allowance for sewing. And on the waistline, I'm going to be taking in my waist measurement, divide by 4, and replace the dart intake, which is 3 inches, and add extra 2 inches seam allowance. So now I'm going to be connecting each of these lines. All right. So now I'm going to be cutting this out. Okay. So on the shoulder, I'm going to be adding my half inches. This is for sewing allowance. All right, if you don't add it on the pattern paper, please, when you're cutting on your fabric, make sure you add your sewing allowance. And I'm labeling this as the yoke. So this is how it is, guys. I'm opening this up for you guys to see. I actually folded this pattern because of to show you guys. All right, so if I were to cut this for myself, I won't be cutting this on fold. All right, so this is how it is. This is the center, this is the side, and that is the yoke. All right, so I'm going to bring the other side for you to see to complete this. Okay, so this is how it is. So we are going to be cutting the back piece now. Okay, so for the back, I'm not going to be using my any pattern paper, rather I'll be cutting directly on the fabric. Okay, this is because I ran short of pattern paper. Okay, and I needed to film this urgently. So for the back, I folded the fabric into 2, and I used the largest circumference, my largest circumference, which is 39 inches. That is for the bust point, for the bust area. Okay, that is the largest circumference, and I'm going to be using that to I actually used that to fold the fabric. Okay, so now I'm marking the shoulder measurements. All right, so I'm going to be ruling this line across. So I'll now mark the zip measurement. Okay, the zipper allowance. All right, the zip allowance will be 1.5 inches. Okay, you can do yours 2 inches as you like, but 1.5 inches is actually fine by me. Okay, so from the zipper allowance, that is where we are going to be taking in our body measurements. So next is to from the top of from the shoulder measurement, I'm going to be marking 8 inches That will be my bust line. I'm now going to take in all my body measurements. On the bust line, I'm going to be taking in my bust divided by 4, and whatever I have, I'm going to be imputing that on the bust line. Alright, and I'm going to add extra 2 inches seam allowance for sewing. And on the waistline, I'm going to be taking in my waist measurement, my waist divided by 4, and whatever I have, I'm going to be imputing that. And I'm also going to take in my dart. So for that intake, I'm using 1 inch, and I'm going to add 1 inch for my darts and extra 2 inches seam allowance. So after I'm done with that, I'm going to be using my straight rule to connect from my bust to my waistline. Alright, and I'm going to be connecting also on the allowance. And next thing I'll be doing now is to mark the shoulder measurement. Then on the shoulder measurement, I'm going to take in my shoulder, which is 16 inches divided by 2 is 8 inches. So I'm going to be marking that, and also on the bust line, I'm going to be marking the same thing, 8 inches. And I'll use my straight rule to mark this, to rule this, draw this line. So for my shoulder slope, I'm coming down by 1 inch, and on the neckline, I'm going in by 3 inches, and I'm going to be connecting my shoulder slope just like I did for the front. So for my armhole, I'm going to take the midpoint of my armhole, okay? Then I'm going to be dividing whatever I have. I'm going taking the midpoint from the shoulder slope, and I'm going to connect it to meet to my bust like so. For my neckline, I'm going to be coming down for my neck depth by 1.5 inches. This, if you're using this pattern, this you have to come down by 1.5 or even 2 inches is fine, okay? Then you're going to connect like so. So on the bust line, I'm going to be going in by 4 inches. What I'm doing here totally depends on what you want. For you, you can do 2 inches, 3 inches, or go as far as 5 or 6 inches. It totally depends on what you want anyways. So on the neckline, I'm coming in by 2 inches, alright? From the neck depth, I'm coming in by 2 inches, and I'm going to connect it to me to the 4 inches that I drew earlier on the bust line. So on the bust line, I don't want my back to be totally straight, okay? So I'm coming down by 1 inch, and I'm going to connect it to me to my armhole. This will make it a bit curvy, okay? So next thing I'll be doing now is to connect the darts, to take in my dart, alright? So for the darts, my bust span divide by 2, and whatever I have, what I have is 4 inches, but since I'm cutting on the fabric, I'm going to be adding extra ½ inch for sewing allowance, okay? So this will be 4.5 inches, and I'll repeat the same thing on the bust line. And I'm connecting. Then on the waistline, I'm going to come in by half of an 0.5 inch and go out by 0.5 inch also, and connect to me to the bust line. So I'm extending this line to meet to my new bust line, all right? So next thing now is to extend the shoulder measurement by 0.5 inch. This will serve as my sewing allowance. If you're cutting this directly on your fabric, you need to extend the shoulder measurement, all right? And on the lobe area, I'm going to be extending it also by half of an inch, but this is totally optional, especially if you're using a stretchy fabric. You don't need to extend that measurement there. So I'm now going to cut out, all right? Cut out from the neck to the shoulder. I'm going to cut the armhole, okay, and the yoke out. Then I'm going to cut from the sides down and we are done. So since I'm cutting on my fabric, I'm going to be adding extra 0.5 inch for my sewing allowance on the back neck. All right, so I'm going to be taking out from the yoke to add to the back bodies, okay, the back neck. All right, I don't know if you understand, so just follow what I'm doing here. All right, if you're cutting, that is if you're cutting directly on your fabric, but if you're cutting on your pattern, then you don't need to. When you're cutting on your fabric, then you can add, all right, you can add extra 0.5 inch to that neck measurement. I don't know if you understand, because if you don't add extra half of an inch or 0.5 inches, you run short of fabric. So on the yoke, if I'm cutting on my other fabric, okay, that will serve as the yoke, the back yoke, I'm going to be adding whatever I took out from the yoke. So this is the after I was done. Okay, this is the center front, this is the center cup, and this is how it is. Okay, and I have added extra 0.5 inch around, and this is the fusible interfacing I added to the fabric. The light one is to help my fabric stay because it's actually very soft, and I also added the medium fusible interfacing. So, and I'm going to put this away and show you guys the sides. All right, I cut out the side and I also added extra half of an inch for sewing allowance. Then for the side, remember, while I was cutting, I already added 2 inches sewing allowance. Guys, you don't need to add any allowance. If you had added allowance while you were cutting on your pattern, don't add any extra allowance, only add on the cup side. Okay, you add 0.5 inch. All right, then for the back, since I already added extra half inch on the back neck, I'm not going to be adding again. Then remember, I took out half 0.5 inch from the yoke and added to the bust side, so I'm going to be replacing that. And while I cut out on the chantilly lace, I added 1 inch because I took out from the yoke and added to the bust. So I cut this 4 because I'll be using two to turn each other. All right, then for the center yoke, for the front yoke, I'm going to be showing you guys how I cut this out, and I cut it on fold, and it's 2, okay, because I'll be using one to turn the other. So we are now going to head over to the sewing aspect. We're going to be sewing the neck first. We'll be sewing the neckline. Okay, we're going to be sewing the neckline like so. Then I'll be sewing in the cup side, the bust side, the bustier. I'm going to be joining the bustier and join the back and show you guys. I've already joined the bustier and this is how it is. All right, I open press the seams as you've seen, and you can see the cup is sitting pretty well, and you've seen how it is. Then on the neckline, I'm going to be adding the yoke. All right, and I'm going to be also doing the same thing for the back. Join the pieces together, add the yoke, and I'll show you guys the outcome. So this is how it is. I'm done sewing the front piece. Okay, this is how it's looking. I've added the yoke to the bustier, and I have already turned this with my lining. Okay, for the sake of time, I had to do this off camera. So while I was sewing, I noticed that the lace was a bit stretchy, and this is not affecting anything, guys. So I'm going to be cutting this out. The excess fabric, I'm going to be cutting it to meet to the tip of the shoulder, and I'll repeat the same thing on the other side of the armhole. Okay, I'm going to cut it out to meet to the tip of the shoulder. All right. So guys, this is how it is. Okay, I'm going to be joining the shoulder to the back bodies. All right, so I'm going to be bringing in the back bodies for you guys to see what I did here, and you've seen how I turned the yoke. Okay, this is, you've seen the neckline, the armhole, everything is sitting pretty. So at this point, I'm going to be joining the shoulders. Okay, I'm joining it to the front shoulder. All right, and afterwards I'm going to take my bust measurements, my under bust measurements, and the waist measurements, and shape it accordingly. Okay, shape it. After shaping it, iron it, and your top is ready. Then you can join it to whatever you want to join it to. So at this point, we are through with this tutorial, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Please stick around for more videos. Thank you so much. Bye.